Have you ever hit publish on a new product on Etsy and then you were suddenly hit with worries about what if someone copied or stole your work? Creating and selling digital products and printables on Etsy is a fantastic and fun side hustle that truthfully anyone can learn how to do. But as easy as it is to get started creating printables and selling them for extra income on Etsy, it's also easy for people to steal and copy your work, unfortunately. In this video, I'm going to show you a few ways that you can proactively protect your printable or digital products, and then also what to actually do if you find yourself in a situation where someone has copied or stolen your work and they are reproducing and selling your designs. Now, quick disclaimer here, I am not a lawyer and this is not legal advice. In this video, I'm going to share information with you and cover some of the basics about understanding what your rights are if someone copies your work on Etsy. But that being said, if you find yourself in that situation, the best solution may be for you to contact an attorney. Let's start with the basics. The first thing that you need to understand is the term intellectual property. So intellectual property, also known as IP, refers to everything you create in your mind and the legal rights associated with what you create. And when you take anything you think of, any idea you have in your brain, and you turn it into a tangible work. So literary works, artistic creations, inventions, even designs and symbols you then put into e-commerce products like Printables or t-shirt designs, for example. Anything like that is something that is your intellectual property. And it means that you have the exclusive rights to use it and profit from it. Now, even though you are the only one who has the right to make money off of and use your design, that doesn't mean that someone won't try and copy or resell what you've created. It's not likely, but it is possible. The good news is that there are a few ways you can proactively protect your work, your digital products, and your small business. Let's cover first what you can do to protect your printables and your digital products. The most common way that people try to protect their work is by using watermarks on their digital products and on their product photos. Truthfully, I don't think that this is a very good way to protect your work, and there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'll explain why I don't recommend that you watermark your photos as a form of protecting your work from being plagiarized. The first reason is that it's not actually that difficult for people to remove your watermarks. So you would spend all of this time adding watermarks to your photos when it's not that hard to take them off, especially with the new AI design tools that are rapidly coming out today on the internet. And then there is another negative aspect to adding watermarks, and that is that it lowers your conversion rate on Etsy. If you take a look at the best-selling products on Etsy in any niche, as well as the Etsy editor picks, curated roundups of products, any kind of shops that are being featured by Etsy itself, you are not going to see very many, if at all, watermarks on any of the photos. It negatively affects the conversion rate of those products. They're going to sell less because customers want an attractive and enjoyable shopping experience, and adding watermarks to your photos does not present that attractive, enjoyable experience to the customers. So instead of adding watermarks to your photos, one way to protect your designs from being copied or stolen is to limit the number of actual pages in your printable or digital design that are shown in your product photos. So you can create bundles like these. You can create mock-ups where the images are overlaid, or just add additional designs that partially obscure what is in your product, so people get a little taste, but they're not seeing the entire thing. That could therefore make it really easy for them to copy. Now, you do need to make sure that you are accurately showing and describing your product, and you are showing people enough to convince them to buy. So this is a tricky balance, but one way to help reduce the risk of your products being copied or resold is by making the listing photos difficult to replicate and the products a little bit more difficult to replicate from the images. And you can create these mockups in Canva or even use some of the pre-made mockups that are available on Canva for free. You can also password protect your products. This works really well with things like Excel sheets that can be password protected and limit the number of people who have access to them. And one other really proactive way to protect your work is to include a terms of use policy in your product descriptions and in the digital products themselves. This is something that's so easy to implement and can really help protect your work. You can create one terms of use template for virtually everything in your shop. It may sound surprising, but many people actually don't know how intellectual property works and the fact that you own the exclusive rights to your product. So a good part of protecting your shop is by actually educating your customers, explaining to them that what you sell to them does not give them the right to resell it to someone else. Your terms of use should read something like this. This product is for personal use only by the original purchaser and should not be resold, copied, or distributed in any way. This product does not include commercial use. You can also say something like, this product should not be modified or distributed in part or in full. And you can get more specific depending on the type of product that you have, what needs to go into your terms of service. But this is a very simple way, and I would make sure to include it in your product descriptions, in your listing in the product itself, such as in your PDFs or in your printables. And then also, if you have a website, you want to make sure that terms of use is on your website too. So we've covered a few different ways on how you can be proactive and protect your work from being copied or stolen on Etsy. But even by staying ahead of things and being proactive, it is still possible that someone could steal your work. So let's talk about what you can do if you find that your work has been copied or stolen and someone is reselling what you've created. So when someone uses your work and resells it as their own, this is called infringement. But it's important to know that just because someone's work is similar to yours doesn't mean that they actually copied you or that they are infringing upon your products and your intellectual property. There is a difference between someone creating similar ideas and similar designs and someone who is literally using your exact product or your descriptions or your name, or posting your photos without your permission. If you find that someone has actually copied your design, it is important to take action. However, before taking any steps, it really is important to determine if someone just has a similar idea and produced a similar product. Maybe they were even inspired by you, or if they have truly copied your entire design and they are claiming it as their own. If it's someone who is just inspired by your work, unfortunately, there's not much that you can do about that because they too have intellectual copyright to their own ideas as well and to anything that they were inspired to create. It's also not really worth your time and energy spent worrying about someone making copycat or very similar designs when you could be putting that time and focus into making your own shop successful and coming up with new products yourself. However, if you find that your own design has been copied exactly, there are some steps that you can take. Whatever platform that you find your product being sold on, the first thing you want to do is Google the name of that platform and the word infringement or infringement policy. So for example, Amazon infringement policy or Etsy infringement policy, and you're going to find that online platform's rules, policies, and infringement reporting form, which is going to be something you're going to need. You'll be able to file that infringement report, and then that company will investigate whether or not the person copied you, and most likely, if it is infringed upon, it is proven to be your work, they're going to take it down on your behalf. If you're on the Etsy platform, the first step though is not to actually report infringement. The first step is to contact the seller and politely ask them to take down the products that are copied. So I know that this can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but be extra polite and realize that not everyone understands, and they may have truly made a mistake and not realize that they are infringing upon you. So the first step is to reach out to them. They may be willing to take down the product itself without any kind of infringement report filed against them. However, if the seller is unwilling to take the listing down, your next step on Etsy is to file a report. You're going to report the listing directly to Etsy. Etsy takes intellectual property infringement relatively seriously, which is a good thing for you as a seller, and they have a dedicated team to help with these kinds of issues. So to report an Etsy listing for copyright or intellectual property infringement, you are going to go to the very bottom of that listing that you believe has been copied from your products, and in the very bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see something that says report a listing. And from there, you're going to fill out the form on Etsy for infringement. The third step, if you have filed an infringement report with Etsy, is to take legal action against the seller. Depending on how well the listing sells and how important it is to your business, you may have different options legally, but know that this can be a really time-consuming and kind of expensive process to file a lawsuit against someone, so it's really important to weigh the pros and cons. It may not be worth your time to pursue that legal action, but it is something to consider. This would be the step where I would consult an attorney to learn more about what was available to me as next steps. You should know that copycats are a part of the printable world, but you really shouldn't dwell too much on this. My best advice would instead be to focus your time on improving your own business. Even though copycats are incredibly frustrating, the truth is they're not the original person with the design. They don't have as much invested in it as you, and they're going to eventually fail because they're constantly chasing things they can copy, and they never really take the time to focus on making the product really helpful to the customer. So keep in mind, there are options if you find that someone has copied or stolen your design, and there are things that you can do about it. But until that actually happens, you are better off learning how to get great at Etsy, making more digital and printable products in your business, and continuing on focusing on yourself and the success of your new side hustle. Ultimately, having your work stolen does not happen as often as you think it might, and spending your time creating more incredible products that you know your customers are going to love will make you far more successful than letting the fear of copycats hold you back. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you want to learn more about how to make digital and printable products to sell on Etsy for passive or side hustle income, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.